I watched another podcast that you were on yesterday whilst I was outside training in the sun, which was lovely. Was it the Training Stimulus podcast?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I watched that. And what I'm aware of is that you covered a lot of the points there. So I don't want to kind of repeat and go over ground that you've probably exhausted to death. So I've got a kind of a focus that I'd like to go down today with both of you guys. But thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate your time. I know how hard it is in this industry to get an hour or so free for two people, let alone three. So yeah, really appreciate the time. So Julia, just so you know, we've got a lot of American listeners to the show.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of context for where we are, can you just let the audience know whereabouts you are? We're in the UK, obviously, but can you just let them know where you are in your gym that you mainly focus out of?
So I work and coach at Slabin Fitness, which is in Vauxhall, London. So I do classes, some personal training, and then I also run operations and do Coach's Ed with Jess there. So that's it. That's in South London.
Awesome. And how long have you been at Slabin?
I've been at Slabin this will be my fifth year. Nice. So I would have just 5 years. It's really flown by. But yeah, 5 years. So I started there as a weightlifting coach. So they hired me in. So Jess just joined. There she is. And then
hi Jess.
Hi Jess. And then as the time's gone on, my role's just kind of developed and expanded, which is great. So there's been a lot of support from Nick and Tim to kind of help me grow in the role as well.
I had the chance to chat with Nick a couple of weeks ago, which is what spawned this kind of conversation with you guys. And yeah, he seems like a very switched on guy, very knowledgeable, very ahead of the curve, I guess, which is what you need to do in such a sort of thriving environment essentially in London. We talked about it with Nick about the difference in demographics, the clientele, the pace of change and the churn rate. And, we talked about the industry in an urban setting is extremely different from rural. So I think last time I looked at the demographics from Two Brain, I think over 60% of CrossFit gyms are in rural settings rather than urban. So when we talk openly like this, and when we have discussion about running and operating gyms, it might be hard for some audience members to understand the differences that different gyms have to take and the audiences that they have and the price points and that kind of thing. So it's always good to have discussion because it's good to know what other gyms are looking like and taking good practices and that kind of thing. But yeah, Jess, hi, how are you?
How are you, Jake? Thanks so much.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very good. Julia just let me know that you've been coaching all morning and you've rushed over, had your breakfast, and now you're sitting down with us. So thank you, thanks for doing that.
I had my second coffee, which is probably the most important thing.
Oh hell yeah, that first one doesn't hit, does it? I've just had number. I can't even remember what number it is. But yeah, all good. So Jess, just had a little bit of a background on Julia. I just said to Julia that I listened to a podcast you were on yesterday. I listened to it yesterday. A Fixing the Fitness Industry one on the Training Stimulus podcast. So I gave that a listen yesterday while I was doing my outdoor workout in the garden with the kids because it was a nice day and I couldn't be bothered to go back to the gym. So I don't want to cover, there'll obviously be some stuff that we cover that you went through on there, but I'm going to try and limit it to stuff about the business and about your take on the industries and Coach's Ed. But before that, I do want to get a little bit about yourself. So just how long have you been at Slevin with Julia?
At Slevin, I've been there just over a year now. So I started last January. And yeah, been there just over a year. Met them. I've known them all quite a while, but I actually started working just over a year. I've actually probably known Jules the longest, way back into tribal clash days. It's been a while, but actually working together has just been this year at Slevin. Yeah.
Great. Okie dokie. It's quite a close-knit community, I think, especially within the CrossFit world.
Whereabouts
I've
are you
been in.
based?
Well, now I'm in the Isle of Man, so geographically it's a little island between Ireland and England, so it's floating in the middle of the Irish Sea. My mum's side of the family are all from here, so I moved my family here 3 years ago. I was christened and born and everything here, so just made sense. But I grew up in Windsor, obviously just outside London,
Nice.
and I was there for 37 years. I've been here for 3 now. So yeah, hence the mug. I think Nick turning 40 this year as well.
He
He's
did.
already 40.
Yeah. I had this stint of talking to people over a couple of weeks where there was like 4 or 5 people that were turning 40 in the same year. It's just purely coincidental. But no, I won't talk about myself for too long, but I owned a couple of affiliates in Windsor and Eton up until about 2020, 2021. Got into CrossFit in 2012, took my L1 in 2012, and been with it ever since. You know, I fell in love with it, and my family have grown up. My kids, all they've known is CrossFit, and I still to this day coach it. I'm at about 22,000 hours now. I've kept tabs. I've coaching. So coaching, methodology, community is like my bread and butter. The sport's great, and we do need it. It's the tip of the spear, but for me, it's not. It could go away tomorrow, and I wouldn't really care. So this whole show has and always will be about the community and coaching predominantly, and how to elevate and promote the gyms across Europe, and try and get as many people into the gyms and help the gyms and third parties like yourself, like GymSync, like Defiant with Steve, like Rebecca at Rising Tides, like Hannah at the Academy program. There's all these different companies that are on the periphery of the CrossFit gyms that are there, but we need to promote them because they are part of our community, and all those people I just mentioned are members at CrossFit gyms, as well as having businesses that help develop. You know, we should all be in it together, and because we know this great thing that we've got, and we need to get it out there to as many people to listen as we can. I personally think we don't need the sport to do that, which traditionally it was. It worked early days, but I don't think we're quite on the same bandwidth as we were 10 years ago now. I think the industry's changed. I'm sure you've got a lot to say about that. So anyway, Jess, a little bit of background about you then. So obviously you just said you've been with Slevin for about a year now. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that point in the industry.
Okay, how far back do you want me to go? I've been in the UK for about 10 years now. I'm from Canada. So I've found CrossFit in Canada before I moved, and I did my first CrossFit class, I believe it was in 2010, and loved it. Got brought by a friend. She was like, you got to try this thing called CrossFit. I was already planning on moving to Australia at that point. So I'd done a few classes, and then I moved to Australia in 2011 and stayed there for 4 years. And at that point, I didn't pick up CrossFit until the last year, because just traveling around a little bit as a backpacker, working holiday, didn't really get back into it. And then started the last year, and then I was moving to the UK. So I had about a year of CrossFit, moved to the UK, and thought, I want to stay in CrossFit, and I want to work in sports. I want to work in some kind of in the fitness industry. Moved to Wandsworth, around that area. And my first CrossFit gym was CrossFit Wandsworth, which was called District. They rebranded to District, and it's now closed, but they still have the Battersea location. Met amazing head coach there. They ran an internship program. So I got my L1, went on an internship program with them, and it literally changed my life. The couple girls that ran the internship program, Alex and Ellie, I had some great role models who helped me and gave me that confidence to be able to start coaching, and then worked for WIT soon after that. Probably in 2016, I want to say, a year after I moved to the UK. And WIT was just an online store at that point. So I was working online for WIT, and then they opened up their St. Paul's location in 2018. And that's when I started really coaching full time.
Cool. And that was at the WIT facility? In
St. Paul's, yeah. Oh, so right up until I moved over to Slevin last year, I was with WIT for maybe, I don't know, 7-8 years, something like that.
Awesome, lovely.
Yeah.
I remember we used to do an event called Tribal Clash. I haven't done it for a couple of years now.
That's
but
where
that
I met Jules.
Oh, was it? Oh, amazing.
Together.
Yeah. Oh, mate. I mean, I don't need to tell you how much of an awesome event it was, but we did.
Yeah.
We were there
I
from
missed it.
the first year, 2013. We did it as a team of 4. 2014, team of 4, and did every year, and Portugal twice up until 2019. And
I
then
was
obviously
twice as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. That was the Portugal, the first year, was the only time we got through to the semi-final, our team, and it was a tug of war. And
Oh, I remember that tug of war.
yeah, and we were up against Nottingham, who won the whole thing like 5 times or something ridiculous. They just had they had 3 regionals athletes in it, and the blokes made me look like a toddler. Like they're all like these ginormous men, and I felt like a kid at the age of 35. But yeah, no, tribal was one of those things where it really embodied community out of the gym, no barbell, just the whole spirit of it was just it for me. That was the one competition that I did every year without fail, as well as the Open. But it summed up UK CrossFit for a while, and obviously European. You had a load of teams coming over from all over Europe. But what the guys did with that was amazing. It was just a shame how it kind of all got wrapped up and everything because of COVID.
Yeah,
but Ath and Rob have taken it on with a couple of other people now, and they're trying to get it going again. So I'm looking forward to maybe signing up for that again at some point.
I saw that it's coming back, so that's great for that. It's really great.
No, definitely. Were you just last thing on Tribal? Were you there on the year where at Bantham? I think it was the last year they did it, 2019, when we had to run out to that island.
I remember there was one year where we had to do like a run, swim, run. Where you had to run along the beach, and they told everyone that you couldn't bring shoes, or you could bring shoes, and people didn't know whether they could bring shoes. Yeah, and you had to swim, and then you had to do another 5K trail run up the hill, and then back
down.
So
that trail run, I thought I really wanted to die. It was before I started running a lot more, and I thought, right, Jess, you need to sort out your running.
That when the run was fine. Swimming, not my best. I breaststroked the whole thing. My wife's an elite level swimmer. She was fine. But when you got out of that swim and went up that jetty up to the road again, my concrete legs, and then they said, right, run up there, and you're looking up at that hill, and you're like, oh, yeah. But I tell you what, that kind of thing though. CrossFit would perfectly prepare you for that, but you're not prepared for it. Those kind of events, they're so awkward, those odd objects, and just the raw strength and the out of the gym experience. It's one of those things that I guess you'd have to have been there to really appreciate how cool it was. But I'm really keen on. I'm gonna try and get Ath and Rob on before Tribal this year, which is in I think late August.
Great. That would be nice.
Promote it because Ath is such a cool lady as well. She's got so many strings to her bow. And yeah, that'd be cool. Anyway, enough about Tribal. Back to you guys. So
UK competitions.
yeah, exactly. After having said I'm not really bothered about sport, but I think there's a difference between competition and sport in my mind, especially within CrossFit. There's varying degrees of what we call competition. I think, and I think somewhere along the line, I talked about this yesterday with a couple of days ago with Marcus from GoRuck. Somewhere along the line, the elite have got so far away from the regular people at the gym, the tether's snapped, and we've kind of lost all sense of competitiveness as a scale. It's either elite or nothing. And somewhere along the way, we need to reestablish the fact that everyone can be competitive, not necessarily for a sport, but we can be competitive in our training, competitive in our nature, competitive at the gym. Because at some point, it's clear that people need it. You look at the demand for high rocks. That's scooped up a lot of those people that want that competitive spirit, but want a bit of anonymity and not necessarily chasing the elites.
Mm-hmm.
We've still got that at all the gyms. People come to our type of gym because of that nature. So but that's a topic for another time. But so back to you guys. So Coach's Ed. Can you talk me through the conversations that led to Coach's Ed being born? How did it all come about?
So I'll take this one. So Coaches Ed was something that we used to do at Slevin internally. So it was essentially, members or someone would say like, oh, I'm really interested in coaching. And then you would get them to do the level 1, but the CrossFit level 1 doesn't really teach you how to be a good coach. And then even after you've done it, you have no idea what you're doing. So the Coaches Ed course was like a program that we did internally at Slevin, and that was essentially how we would get new coaches. So we would put them through, and it used to be like a 6-week program, and then every Saturday they would come in the gym. They'd be there for like 2-3 hours. They'd go through different sections of coaching. It would be anywhere between sort of like 2 to 4 people. And it wasn't like you had to do your level 1 first. It was maybe you wanted to try coaching, but you weren't sure. It gave you an opportunity to like learn from the coaches that were at Slevin already. So at the time it was like me, Nick, Tim and Lauren, who's been there a really long time as well. So we would kind of lead it, and then you'd have the opportunities to coach the other people. And then from that, you would go into like a shadowing program, and then you'd get lots of feedback. And after that, let's say it'd be like a couple of months, you would feel pretty confident in doing so. So that's what it was. That was in the old Slevin gym. And then when we moved to the new gym, Nick had the idea that he wanted to kind of push this out externally, because he could see that there was like a gap where lots of gyms were either like struggling to develop coaches, or there's no proper framework for coaches to have this like place and like a safe place where they can learn. So then when Nick was like thinking about how we could do it, and then Jess had kind of started conversations that she wanted to work at Slevin, then it was kind of suggested that it would be something that we could do together. Like, we've both been in the industry a long time, but we've both been coaches for a long time. Like, Jess has coached at lots of different places. I've coached at a couple of places, and I mentioned in the other podcast I was very fortunate to have great mentors at the beginning of my coaching career, and we wanted to be able to provide that for not just CrossFit gyms, but we wanted to be able to push it out to all gyms. So then when Jess started, we started building it and just kind of expanding on the product that was already there, but just making it a more sort of like structured process and something that we could put out into like a usable product for the masses. So that's that.
Cool. Once you'd had that idea, the literature, the socials, the website, was that something that you wanted to get together first before you rolled out? Was it something you actively did, or did you kind of build as you started to roll out?
Well, we knew we had to do the socials. Yeah, it kind of just all happened at once, and there were points where we both felt very overwhelmed, because it's so easy when you're building something that's quite massive, and there's so many things to do, and the way that you get your people in is through socials and like interacting with other people and getting people to know what it is, but you also need to build an effective product at the same time. So that we started with the bits that we knew we could do, which was filming, and we had a lot of the content already from the previous years. We just needed to kind of fine tune it and tidy it all up. And then if you look at some of our like recordings from the first few weeks, they were so terrible. We were making like mistakes all over the place. We were like not natural in front of the camera. And then a couple of months later we got a lot better. So I think you can probably see the quality of our demos gets throughout the course too.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jess, you were about to say something.
Yeah, well, I think with the building of the videos and the program was like happening gradually, but then over that time there was layers of other things happening. So we were running workshops to get ready and promote the course and to see how we wanted to run it. And those workshops were a 4-hour workshop at Slevin, and it was covering like a ring muscle up and a squat clean. And it wasn't for teaching somebody how to do that. It was for coaches. So how coaches could coach that in a group setting. So those workshops, we were doing 3 last year before we even rolled forward with the online course. And then in that time as well, we were doing mentorships, one-on-one mentorships with people, which is part of the program online as well. You could sign up for the 3-month core program, a mentorship. Sometimes we have workshops like we had coming up with Ash. That's why we did the podcast together. So there's a few different elements of Coaches Ed. So we were able to do some of those elements before the actual 3-month course was born and actually came to life. So we were testing out how the workshops were running. We were already performing, inviting people in for mentorships who were looking to coach, who were already coaches or aspiring coaches who maybe wanted to coach but didn't know if it was for them. And now one of those people are coaching with us as well, who was on the mentorship last year.
Good. Full circle then.
Yeah.
Just like kind of your recruitment of coaches at CrossFit gyms, I guess it's, you know, you get your members to start with. You see members with you probably see it as well, but a lot of CrossFit coaches started off as members at gyms. Probably all three of them.
Yeah.
And fell in love with the methodology and the style of coaching that you expect. And I can do that. I can probably add something to this. I love being around people. I want to add value. I want to work hard. How do I get involved? And initially, that used to be do your L1. And I think there was a little bit of a financial and emotional buy-in to do the L1. It wasn't just a case of, right, I've done my L1, now I'm a coach. It was, you've got to financially invest in this. I had to do mine in Stockholm. I had to travel. There wasn't one in the UK for 9 months. So that travel, the commitment to that was my way of saying, right, I'm dedicated to this, to show the manager at the gym that I was at the time, I'm involved here. But I don't think at that point, it wasn't as formal, I guess, as you guys are trying to make it, which is absolutely right. Professionalizing coaches. I talked about this with Nick, and that's how he got onto talking about you guys. Talked about with a few other people. I know Jamie at Method is a big advocate of this. I think professionalizing coaching, making it a profession rather than just invoicing for your hours at the end of the month and, you know, developing on the job. It needs to be better than that, and the industry needs it, because that's the way that CrossFit gyms get better and, you know, retain clients, and get better people out of it. So talk me through it. So if I'm, let's say I'm a 3-year coach. So I've been coaching 3 years at a CrossFit gym. I'm on Instagram, and your page comes up. I don't know what to expect. I have a look at your website, which I've got here, which is an awesome website, by the way. What are my options? So you've got the mentor program, you've got the core 3-month program. Not in depth. I don't want to give away too much, and I don't want to talk about the syllabus and the course too much, because that's what people pay for. What elements, if I do the core program, what elements of coaching are priority here? Is it a holistic approach to what makes a good coach? Is it coaching the movement? Is it how to run classes? Is it systems? Talk me through what's the emphasis within Coaches Ed.
You can take this one.
Yeah. So if you're, just say you've been coaching for 3 years, you probably have a pretty good grasp on coaching and group classes. You probably have somewhat of like a lot of sessions under your belt at that point, depending if it's your full-time job, or obviously if you have a full-time job and you're just doing this part-time, but you probably have a good understanding. Why you might be looking at Coaches Ed is you feel like maybe it's a part-time job that you would love to do full-time. So you would love to have more hours and to quit your full-time job, or maybe it's you are a full-time coach right now, but your gym just doesn't offer any coaching development. So maybe they do every once in a while, but they just don't have the time and energy to do it. Maybe they're running the whole business and they don't have time to train and develop you. You've done a couple of courses online, but you're just missing that in-person practical element of actually getting feedback. And that's what either the mentorship or the core program would really help those people with. So the online program, you'll have the 3 months, and then you have some self-paced theory work that you would work through. And that is things like, we're talking about gymnastics skills a bit. We're doing all the lifts. We're doing the movement. So you're going through that, which you might fly through depending on how long you've been coaching. And then we meet up once a month for 4 hours. And then we go through all the practical work. So if you, Jake, were to come in for your first practical, we're going to go through that first module that you had gone on through online. And then we're going to bring that into a group format where you're going to start to take parts of the class and then get like immediate feedback on that, which maybe then is probably the most relevant thing to you as the 3-year coach that you haven't been getting, of how you could do better at your class planning, your group management, your whiteboard brief. Are you able to spot any faults in a clean when somebody's moving fast in a class? How do you teach it? What's the progressions that you're using? So everything like that would be happening in that core program. And the one-to-one mentorship is that, but it's just one-to-one. So you get a lot more time with Jules or I. So you'd be coming in for twice a week for 6 weeks.
Great. And that's based at Slevin.
Yeah.
Great. Lovely.
So that's where it is right now. And you're probably thinking, okay, what if I'm not in London? What if I can't come to Slevin easily 2 times a week? Or then the core program, which is 3 months, it's just one time a month that you would come in for 4 hours. And then we could probably talk about like future plans of Coaches Ed, of then maybe how that person would work if they don't live in the UK, or they live pretty far and they can't even make it down once a month to London for 4 hours. Because that's the next stages of Coaches Ed as well. And how we can actually make that more accessible to everybody.
Yeah. And I guess, obviously I'm not putting words in your mouth here, but I'd guess as it will, Coaches Ed develops and expands, I guess you'd get more coaches on to coach, to run the courses that are dotted around Europe at some point, to be able to roll out the course on your behalf. I'd assume, that might be the plan.
Who you've been talking to?
So, do you remember Beyond the Whiteboard? There was a channel, and there was these stickman drawings. I can't remember what Instagram. There was a stickman drawing. It was like this, that, and the other, and showing it. And one post that he drew back in the day, we actually had a poster of it in our coaches' room at one of the gyms, and it was a Venn diagram, and it was the 3 portions that this sat with us for about a good 5 years. It was this trifecta of education, inspiration, and motivation. So this triangle of like motivate, inspire, and educate. And the ideal coach is sat somewhere in the middle, and you want portions of all 3 of those being ticked off. Within Coaches Ed, do you focus on the practical element of coaching as a priority over the inspiration and motivational side of it? Because I get the feeling that motivational and inspirational are kind of traits that people either have or they haven't got. Like those 3 that you get coaches that are phenomenal technical coaches, but they just lack the motivational drive. They don't give off the vibe of well done. It's very binary, very kind of verbal, very black or white binary coaching. Within Coaches Ed, do you touch on that kind of thing? Do you talk about method? Do you talk about how to develop those kind of traits, or is it predominantly the physical, how to coach these things?
So
Oh, sorry, Jules, go ahead.
So I guess it is primarily the practical side, as you say, but a lot of delivering a good class, and when we talk about like class planning and like group management, it's also how to engage, because how do you get people to come back to your classes? Because you want every member that comes to your class to continue coming back, because you don't want them to just buy into the gym. You want them to buy into you as a coach. They trust you, they like you, they want to be in your classes. And that is also something that, it's not heavily touched upon. It is, again, something in our future plans where we talk about like the soft skills of coaching a lot more in a lot more detail. But yeah, definitely within like the class planning, we're like, well, how can you engage with members? Asking personal questions like during your warm-ups, getting to know your members and really connecting with them on a personal level, as well as understanding how they move and how you get them to move better. So no, it's not at the very top, but it is still within the course itself.
But I think you're right in that way, because along the way, I've seen coaches that have got real empathy for people. They're really motivational. They play the right music, but they don't spot the floor. They don't correct a squat depth. They don't know scaling options for people with an injured shoulder. But they'll get positive feedback on the spot. You get people returning to their classes and love them as a coach. But is that the best style of coach, generally speaking, you want? I think you can learn how to spot the floor. You can learn how to coach a squat better. You can learn better mechanics. What you can't learn, really, you can learn it, but it's not as easy to learn, is personality. And you're never going to really change someone's personality per se. You can educate them on why certain styles and certain chameleon approach to coaching, depending on the individuals and the classes, is important. But I think you're doing the right thing where the actual educational piece of how to educate others in movement is the priority. It should be the priority for coaches. But the other two are just as important along the way. But I think it's really hard to be able to coach someone how to have a personality that fits this industry. And I think they get found out relatively early on. I think the people that are either end of that spectrum. You know, I've seen both, and I've seen people on both ends kind of move away from the industry because they don't get that initial kind of feedback of that. So no, I think you're bang on with that. Yeah. It was just interesting.
It's so much easier to help somebody and to teach them how to be a good coach and spotting flaws and actually doing good coaching and scaling options. It's nearly impossible to, help somebody to be friendly and to show up with a smile if they don't want to. Like if they don't have that in them and their personality is not there, we can't teach them that. You're either going to be a nice person and be there to help others because you want to, or you're not. Like, it's not something we can teach you how to do. You can let your personality shine, and it could be like you're a little bit more, reserved and shy, and it could be like helping you get out of your comfort zone. But if you don't have that personality coaching, you acting like every day you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But you are technically, everything and you can coach really well, then it's not going to matter because people are not going to want to come to your class. And if they're not coming to your class, they're not going to get better, and they're not going to keep coming back, and they're going to find another gym, or they're going to go somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the word aloof was mentioned about one of our coaches once. And he had to look in the dictionary to see what it actually meant, but he didn't like it. He didn't like being called aloof. But again, I think as well, if you learn the technical side of it and you get really confident in that, it gives you a bit of breathing space to think about on the spot, how am I coming across here? If you know what you're talking about, and you know it inside out, and you've done X amount of hours on this, and you really know and understand what you're doing, it does give you a bit of stress relief, a bit of time to think about how you're coming across, and rather than taking 10 minutes to realize someone's squatting badly and stressing about it, instantly what they're doing wrong, how to correct it, and then you can spectate and watch and observe it. So again, it's the right way around, and I think having coaches relax a little bit into the job, and that comes with time. Like any job, the longer you're at something, you can get complacent sometimes, but the nature of what we do, it's very mechanical. It's very binary, either with movement standards, especially involved. It is very binary. So, good. So I had a question for you. I asked this a little while ago. Daniel Chafee on, and I asked him a question, and he came up with his blinding answer instantly because he's obviously thought about it. But I want to get your take on it, and I've stressed over this for years now, so it's not. I don't expect an initial straight answer, but it's very rare, extremely rare, and you can think of probably one or two examples across all sport across the globe where an elite athlete, top of their field, then goes on to become a very exceptional coach in their sport. Very rarely happens. What traits do you think that you've observed and you talk about, do you think that the elite sports people lack in coaching others, everyday people in a sport? What is it that they haven't developed that you guys talk about?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is.
That's a really, really good question. And now thinking about that, because we always talk about so much of the competitiveness of CrossFit and it as a sport, and to have a look at people who are competing at the highest level. I can't obviously speak from experience because I've never been to CrossFit Games or been competing at that high level, but what would be the first thing that pops in my mind is they would just be lacking maybe the relatableness to what these other people are going through, because they've been at such a high level for such a long time in terms of things are a lot easier for them right now. So for them to be able to then break everything back down to coach that person who's a beginner, how to do a toes to bar, they might lack that of actually like how to be able to break that down, coach it, because they could just be like, jump up on the bar and you do this. And it could be such a long time since they've learned it themselves. So I would think maybe relating of how they can coach that and break that down would be a big barrier, just because they may have been out of classes for a very long time at this point. Jules, what do you think?
Again, definitely not any kind of elite athlete, nor have I ever competed at an elite level. But I have like made sacrifices to, dedicate more time. So from like a very small scale. But I do think it's probably things like, I'm going to flip it the other way around. I think you have to be very selfish at that top level, because it's, you've got to stay in your lane. Everything is all about you and your goal at the end, and all the people around you are the people that you've surrounded yourself that are there to support you to that singular one goal that you want to achieve. So whereas like with coaching, all you're doing is caring about others, but when you're an elite athlete, it's there's no one else. It's all about you, like, your team or your training, your priority is you. So I think it's kind of like spreading out all of that attention that you would actually just focus on you and making sure that you recover and get everything that you need to get done to make it to the top, and probably like flipping it so that it's probably not all about you, and how do you distribute that attention to now like other people in order to get them into that same thing. And maybe you would find it difficult to also not apply that insane amount of pressure that you've been applying to yourself for the past X however many years that you've been trying to be an elite athlete, into just like probably toning it down and just seeing like little wins, and making sure that if you are going to try and be a good coach coming from an elite background, then you're also not like pushing people too hard to get them to be better.
What did DC say, right?
Well, it must have been within less than half a second of me finishing the question, he just said selflessness. And I was like, right, I've taken about 5 years to think about this, and you've nailed it in under 1 second. So it's clearly something that he's considered, and he is the global manager for affiliates. He knows what he's on about, right? But then he talked about the trait, and he talked about, and I'm paraphrasing him here, it's the requirement for the elite athlete to not think about others. It's a requirement. It's a statutory requirement. You cannot think about other people to be an elite athlete. You have to be selfish, which one of you guys just said. I married an Olympic athlete. I know full well what they're like, right? They have to be selfish. And that bleeds into, it doesn't always bleed into real life. And, we've had kids now and we live together. I should know my wife by now. I'd hope. But when she was competing, and to this day, whenever we're on a bike ride and my wheel goes slightly in front of hers, she pushes forward a little bit, because she hates the idea of competition is just ingrained in her, right?
Yeah.
So they grow up, elite athletes grow up with something different, and they have to learn to be selfish to get anywhere that they need to be in their sport. Same with business. I think the top elite business people, they have to learn to be that way. It's a very binary, direct route to the top, unfortunately, as it is. Now, how I'm going to relate this back to Coach's Ed, on the flip side of being an elite sports person, you have to be selfless. You have to be selfish. In your content, I'd hazard a guess and say the traits and the method that you teach people about how to be the best coach they can is in direct contrast with how to be an elite sports person. And I think that's where the disconnect within CrossFit, with the world of CrossFit, I think that's where the disconnect comes between the community and the coaches, and then the elite sports people within our world of CrossFit. I just like asking that question from as many people as I can, and especially from you guys that are educating coaches. It's good to get your opinion and your take on that. With that in mind, then, on the Coaches Ed so far, have you had any elite? I don't want to say, let's say, very, very, very good CrossFitters. Let's say, doesn't have to be games athletes. Have you had any approach you and want to be on Coaches Ed? I know it's only been a short time.
I mean, one of our coaches at Slevin is an amazing athlete. I'll give him a shout out, Sam Woodhead. He actually did come through the Coaches Ed program. So back in the old gym, so not like our current one, but the overall framework and content of it is the same. So he was at the time training at the gym, doing classes. I think he just started doing his own programming, as in he bought like a bespoke program to do. Very good potential at the time for CrossFit athlete. Now a few years later, he coaches at our gym. He is also competing at the highest level in UK CrossFit, and he's an amazing coach. So on the flip side, you have elite athletes that are going to be good coaches, and Jess coaches quite a few classes with him. She can see he's really attentive, he's incredibly technical, and actually what I've noticed from doing classes or he's that guy where if someone in the gym is doing a qualifier, they might go and ask him, how Sam, how would you do this workout? And then he would actually adjust his answer exactly to how that person would do it. So instead of saying well, I would do it like this, he'd be like, well, I think you should do it this way because I know your ability and I know what you can do. And this is probably going to be the best tactic. And he does that in his classes as well. So instead of saying, oh, I would go unbroken on all of these gymnastic movements, he'll be like, actually, this is the best way to do it for the level of the class that we're going to be teaching and the level of the people in the class. And he's actually really attentive in that way, which I think is really great.
That's awesome to hear. And did Sam do the coach's development before he became that level of athlete?
Probably at the same time. He's always been, really one of the best athletes in the at our gym. I can't confirm with him whether he thinks that doing Coaches Ed has made him better as an athlete as well as a coach. Maybe you can get him on your podcast.
Yeah, I think, and here's what I'm thinking with this is that I've thought for a long time that to be involved with CrossFit the sport, you should really understand what CrossFit methodology is. You need to know where it came from, where it sparked from. You need to know the base. That's why this show is called The Base Show. It's all about the bottom of the pyramid, the base, like people like me, the community. I think that the elite sports people in CrossFit would benefit hugely early on, like Froning, like Kalipa, like Spieler, like all the guys from 10 years ago, 12 years ago, Brooke Hentz, Camille Bazinet, all of them at the top level. They were L1 seminar staff. They owned gyms. They coached 3-4 hours a day. They knew the member base. They knew the community. They were entrenched in CrossFit and they did the sport. I don't think we're at a point where they can't do that. I think they would have an hour or two every day to dedicate towards coaching. And I think it could be so beneficial for not only the community, but for the elite sports people. Not only to see what CrossFit is and what it truly is, not the sport, but also when they retire, they're then in the community and they can carry on and continue within the CrossFit. They don't just go from this to selling toe spacers. That's not trajectory that I would want for someone that's showcased our methodology high enough. There was a really interesting video from Kalipa about 10 years ago when he had his business, NorCal business seminars he used to do. And there's a whiteboard similar to this thing. And he's drawn 2 circles. And he said his first mistake when he started NorCal was to have the sport in the middle and hope that the community and the gyms grew from that. But somewhere along the line, he realized the community needed to be central. So he reshifted the gym that he had. And within 2 years, he then had 10 gyms because community came first. And he still did very, very well from the sport. He still had teams that went to the games and came second to Mayhem. But it still grew. But as long as you've got the coaching and the community nailed, everything else is a bonus. And it does come out of there. Now, I think something like Coach's Ed could be a standard within the CrossFit industry, which is probably what you guys are hoping for. How do you think a gym owner, do you think a gym owner can continue to be in development and a good coach in the current climate we are with CrossFit as a CrossFit gym? Do you think an affiliate owner can continue to be a very good coach in front of people?
100% if they want to. 100%. It really just depends on what resources they have in terms of their team. So if you have an affiliate owner who has been able to employ somebody to be that, maybe that full-time person, that head coach who is that main head coach, so the affiliate owner can step away and do more background stuff and they don't have any interest in coaching anymore, absolutely fine. You might have that affiliate owner who wants to do both because they don't want to give up their coaching because that's where they started in the first place. And they don't want to separate themselves from their members and their community. And yeah, 100%, they can still be a really good coach. They're probably going to have to put a little bit more effort into it if they're not coaching every single day. If they're only coaching, a couple classes a week, they might, lose some of those skills because they haven't been on the gym floor as much anymore, but it's still very possible. 100%. And I think it is less and less only because if they employ other people to do it for them and they take a complete step back and they lose coaching altogether, like they are just not on the gym floor anymore. And if you're not on the gym floor, it's hard you can't keep up. Like you have to be coaching, you have to get the reps in, the hours in. Yeah.
I've spoken to a couple of people recently about this, a couple of gym owners and individuals, third parties, about all this kind of topic. I think a lot of gym owners, long-term gym owners, have just got burnout. And I spoke to Daniel about this, and he recommended that I read or listen. I actually listened to it. Couldn't be bothered to read it. A book called The E-Myth. Are you familiar with that, or have you read it? I'm most of the way through it now, but effectively what the authors talks about is this progression in small businesses going from the mechanic stage, so someone that is physically doing the work, and then they go from mechanic to manager. And a lot of people that exceed exceptionally well in being a mechanic really struggle at the management level because they have a very good level of mechanical prowess, but they aren't willing to delegate. They aren't willing to give that mechanical side up. When they're in that managerial role, they're spread so thin because they're trying to keep going with the mechanical work and be the manager. And what this book talks about is there's a next step after that with ownership, where what those mechanics that go into the managerial should do is, as soon as they can, delegate managerial work so they become an owner and walk away from the managerial and all that kind of systems running and people watching and that kind of thing, so that they can then full circle go back to being a mechanic as well as the owner and having all the delegation role and that kind of thing, managerial role, covered by someone that isn't necessarily mechanically knowledgeable or applicable. Now, I think Daniel in his wisdom said to me to read that because it's so damn true. At the moment, we're getting these long-term affiliate owners that have been hanging on in that managerial role, trying to be mechanic as well.
Yeah.
We need them to just jump up to being the owner, delegate the managerial role, and get back on the gym floor. Be a coach again. The reason why you fell in love with CrossFit, the reason why you started your own gym, was because you loved coaching and you loved being on the deck and you loved working with people, fixing their squats, seeing the first pull up, getting people to battle for middle ground or whatever it was. that initial and that mechanical role is really what we fell in love with. Now, you guys at Coach's Ed are doing just that, aren't you? You're taking people and making them the best mechanic that they can be on the gym floor. My thought on what you guys do is re-energizing affiliate owners and gym owners in how to coach again, how to be that mechanic, because they probably stepped away from the gym floor. They can probably walk back on the gym and just cover classes now and again when they're needed to. But that passion for it has sort of faded because they haven't been on the floor doing it. They haven't seen the reward from it. And I think what something like you guys can do, I'd imagine do, is just re-energize people. Like doing the L1 or L2 or whatever every 5 years. The reason for that is just that. It's to re-energize people, give them that injection of what CrossFit is again, and be around like-minded people. And I think something like Coach's Ed is so damn important for those longer-term gyms, the owners and the affiliate owners getting back and being taught by people that know and have that, and other like-minded people. It's really cool what you guys are doing.
Thank you. That's so true, isn't it? I see it so many times where, whether the gym's not doing well or the gym's closed and they're trying to sell, and it's just the owner is just tired. And they don't know, they don't have the support, they don't have the help, and they're just tired, and they want just to kind of let the gym go and to sell it on. And it's if you don't have the right people there, it's really hard, and it could feel probably really lonely to a lot of people as well.
There was an advert CrossFit did about 2016, 17. It was just called "Thanks, Coach." You seen that one? It was from CrossFit, and it was just this video of this coach opening up the shutter door. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning, getting the gym set up, making the coffee, giving it all guns blazing coaching, having breakfast. Another class comes in, high-fiving people, coaching. Shutter door goes down at the end of the day, and it just says, "Thanks, Coach." This woman's she's narrating this, talking about the day and the life of it. And it was just this beautiful thing where it just showed the value of the coach, the value. And it was a thank you from CrossFit to the coaches. We see you, we recognize the work that you're putting in. The owners that have started from day one, and those mechanics that are there 5 o'clock in the morning or earlier, that are there all day, after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of doing that, it's obvious to me why that would get tiring. If you're still remaining to be the coach, always opening up and doing the ownership and looking at your VAT bill every month and all that kind of stuff, you can see how easily that would go. And I think all we've got to at the moment is a point where we've got so many 10-year affiliates in the UK. In 2013 to 2014, we went from 150 affiliates to 500. So in 1 year, we added 350 affiliates in 2014. We're now at the 10 or 11 year mark of those affiliates. So we're now at the point where 10 years on, are those affiliate owners still as interested and engaged as they were when they first opened? And what are the reasons for that? And I think it's because they failed to move on to the ownership role and having people in place because they don't necessarily have the education piece around how that works. So businesses like yours can play a massive part in that and re-energizing people and making what we've got great again. Making really passionate people and coaches really passionate. So not only are you educating the newbies, the new coaches, which I think is essential because obviously they can learn purely what we're doing and how to do it properly, but also people down the road that just need a bit of a kick up the bum again. We all need it. We all need it.
And just to be surrounded by like-minded people and for them to talk about, what they're going through as a coach or a gym owner, how they're feeling, how they're running their classes, what they're doing, and just talking to other people that maybe they don't get out of their bubble. They never go and visit other gyms, and coming to visit Slevin, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a seminar, whether it's a mentorship, whether it's, something that we're planning on doing in September, where we're bringing more people together. It's that they could really get communicating again with other coaches, get inspired by them, get help by them, and create a network And we don't have to be separate. It doesn't have to be this gym versus that gym. It could be this gym and that gym work together. And I think Nick touched on it perfectly when he was on with you with GymSync, is where he's doing a phenomenal job with GymSync, bringing gyms together through that community, but helping them thrive as a gym.
Mm-hmm.
So like invigorating them again with events, bringing other people into the gym. And if people are coming into the gym and then there could be using Coaches Ed to train their coaches to be the best in the industry, people are going to stay. So they're coming in, they're getting coached. Why are they going to want to leave?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're changing their lives and more people's lives because they're there, they're loving it, and they're getting really good coaching, and they're feeling great, they're getting better. And that's what people want at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's you're adding value. You're making the coaches valuable.
Yeah.
To gym owners and to the community. Because you've nailed it there. And that's sharing best practice. And also, like we said a minute ago, it's very easy to think to envision how someone would feel isolated by being an affiliate owner. They're in their own world. They're in their little bubble. No one understands what I'm going through. No one else is getting up at 4:30 in the morning to open up. No one's dealing with the struggles of 10 members wanting to leave this month and then wondering how you're going to keep the lights on. No, guess what? There's hundreds. There's hundreds of other gyms that are going through exactly the same thing. And communication around that is really important. And to be surrounded by other people like yourselves and everyone on the courses, on the mentorship program, is an insane tool to neglect, to not have in your life. Why wouldn't you do that? You're only going to make yourself more valuable as a gym. Your retention rates will be higher. Your recruitment levels will be higher. You're going to be thriving. Just that initial investment. I know it's tough for a lot of people to understand, but that initial investment will, in a year's time, you'll be tenfold. So, and that education piece is important as well. The business side of it, why it's important. So guys, what's next for you? So obviously it's early days still, and I don't want to ask you to give all your plans away. Let's say for this year, for 2025, what have you got, guys? What have you guys got planned for the year?
So we're in the process of planning something in September, and this will be aimed at like more experienced coaches, affiliate owners, head coaches, gym owners, and it's kind of encompassing like everything that we've just touched on. So, what are all the bits outside of coaching that are going to help to make your gym successful? Like, building a team, like building a culture within your gym where your coaches feel valued, your members feel valued. And if your coaches are valued, they're going to want to spend more time at the gym. They're going to want to help you and take off that burden of being a small business owner, like you say, to help you kind of avoid that, avoid the burnout and feeling like you're just tired all the time. How do you help to bring in everything that we talked about in Coaches Ed into your gym? So it's like building a framework, being essentially like a Coaches Ed provider. So that's kind of what we are wanting to do. So keep your eyes open for that. That's coming real soon.
Yeah. And is that going to be an event? Is that going to be like a weekend thing or a day or that kind of thing? An in-person event?
Yeah, we want it to kind of be like a launch or pilot of like Coaches Ed 2.0.
Amazing. Well, I would love to be able to witness that, and showcase that nearer the time. So I will definitely.
I'll send you some details.
We'd love to have you down. So
So essentially, we could probably, because we're going to be putting it out to some coaches this week as well, kind of like in a group forum. But yeah, so if you're listening to this and you want to know more about that weekend at Slevin and Coaches Ed and how maybe you could be a provider or learn more about it, drop us a message and we'll send you some details, because we're just going to choose like a handful of people to come in for that weekend that are really showing that they want to grow and develop their team and they're in the right position to be able to coach and develop other people.
Excellent. So that would be the typical person that you'd kind of ideally want would be like a head coach or an affiliate manager or someone that leads coaches at the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that would be comfortable to coach other people. So
Cool.
probably not somebody who's just been coaching for a year, but if they've had some experience, they've already been a head coach, they're doing some, performance reviews, evaluations. They would love to have it a little bit more professionalized and how they can offer that, and hopefully add that to another section of their gym to help them get more, to train more coaches in development, but make more money as a gym as well by running courses.
Amazing. Well, ladies, anything I can do to promote that, like just send me anything, and I'll do as much as I can to do that. It would be lovely nearer the time to have you guys on again, so we can talk about that and get the word out there. It's really important, and part of the reason we started this show was so that we could highlight and showcase as much, like we talked about at the beginning, Julia, as much as this as we can, because it's so important for affiliates, especially affiliates, but CrossFit gyms, to understand what tools there are available to us and who's out there. And the more we can talk about it and promote everyone and get as many people involved as possible, the better, I think.
And
so
bringing people together again. You don't need to isolate yourself. You don't need to think of everybody as a competition. There's so many amazing people out there that we can learn from. So we really want to be that provider where people can come together and coaching development sessions, workshops, weekends, and we can really help people get together and to use each other in the industry. So
absolutely,
we'd love to be that.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that, because it's much needed, it's necessary, and you guys have, like a lot of people that I've spoken to recently, you've seen a gap, you've seen an opportunity, you've seen a development area that's necessary, and you've just grabbed the bull by the horns and you said, all right, we'll do it. If it's no one else is going to do it, we'll do it, and we'll do it properly. So thank you for that. It's the level of coaching will no doubt get a lot higher because of the work that you guys are doing. So thank you.
We hope so.
And then thank you for coming on. It's been lovely to meet you both and get to know you a bit. And I'll look really forward to the progress you guys are making. And especially nearer September, I'd love to get you guys back on so we can talk about the plans and how it's going to go and how the rest of the year's been with everything. So if people want to get in contact, the best way is to go website or Instagram. Which do you prefer?
Either or. So coachesed.com or just coachesed on the Instagram, which I'm guessing you'll put in the description.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
or they can just find us through, there we go, Coaches Ed. They can also just find us through Slevin Fitness. That's where we both work.
Cool.
And then, as we said on the previous podcast, anyone is always welcome to come down and train with us or chat with us. So always welcome down at Slevin.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Right, ladies, thanks for your time. If you just hold on one sec, I'll just end the stream and then we can just say goodbye to each other. So thanks for joining me, Ken. Thanks for your comment. I am off to the French Throwdown on Thursday, so I'll be over there for a few days. And not that I'm going to have my back to the athletes, but I'm there with my gimbal interviewing all the vendors and the community members walking around. That's my job for the weekend, rather than looking at the sport. So so I'll be there. That's why I'm going to meet a load of people from all around Europe and get to meet the community. So that's why I'm there. But yeah, I'll be live on probably Friday and Saturday from the French. So hopefully, viewers, you'll tune in then, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.